name's Allie, and I'd love to be your friendly mystic today. Few housekeeping things to start with. My readings are timeless, like I said at the beginning of all my videos. Um, so it's not really, it's not posted in the month as a timeline. It's just when it's posted. That's really all it is. My readings are also general, so they're not always they can't be meant for everybody all at once, so they might not be meant for you this month. I set the intention that these readings are for those who need them most, and not those who want them or those who would like them. So, if this wasn't the reading for you, I would implore you to watch all the other amazing tarot readers on YouTube, because there are tons of us on here. What else? Also, if you are new to watching tarot on YouTube and you're not sure what sign to watch for, you clicked on Leo because your sun's in Leo. And honestly, if you're a Leo, a sun sign Leo, the sun is in its domicile, so the sun is likely still going to be a great placement for you to read for or to watch for. But this can be for the a rising sun or moon, and that the importance of the sun or moon will change depending on whether or not you were born at night or during the day. I should have this out by now, but I have a video. I'll have it annotated here or maybe in the corner for those who would like some like a guide or some tips and pointers on how to interpret tarot readings as a viewer. So that's just gonna have like basically all the info I could ever give you on ways to pick readings based on signs or any other tidbits about my about how I read as a tarot reader, and how maybe other channels might as well. But yeah, I think that's it. If you're new here to my channel, welcome. It's an honor and pleasure. And if you've watched before, welcome back. It's an honor and pleasure. I'm so ecstatic and happy to be able to do this for y'all. But without further ado, I will pick your tarot decks and your tarot deck and your oracle deck, and we'll get right into it. So I picked a tarot deck for you and a oracle deck for you. The tarot deck we'll be reading with today is the Golden Wheel Tarot. It's a lovely tarot deck. It's one of the most beautiful decks I have. And your oracle deck is the Wild Unknown Archetypes by Kim Krans. This is one of my favorite decks, easy. And if we need a clarifying tarot, another deck to clarify, I haven't been needing those. I was picking 3 decks, now I'm only picking 2. But if we need a clarifier, I'll pick that as well. But let's get into it, Leo. Alright. I just set the intention. I had a jumper, and I was like, I haven't set the intention yet, so I don't like to pick jumpers unless the intention's been set. But spirit guides, guardian angels, benevolent ancestors, please help me to connect with the collective of Leo and communicate the messages in their highest good for those who need it. Spirit guides, benevolent ancestors, guardian angels, please help me to connect with the collective of Leo and communicate the messages in their highest good for those who need it. Spirit guide, benevolent ancestors, guardian angels, please help me to connect with the collective of Leo and communicate the messages in their highest good for those who need it. Spirit guides, benevolent ancestors, guardian angels, source, please help me to connect with the collective of Leo and communicate the messages in their highest good for those who need it. Alright. King of Wands. This feels very much like you, Leo. I was feeling really good right before the reading. I was doing a little dance and song, and I was like, I feel like Leo is wanting me to do their reading. So, what's going on with this King of Wands? I mean, King energy is very Leo energy, right? Don't know what that is. Anything else in this little segment? Honestly, surprised more hasn't jumped. There we go. Oh, interesting. So this King of Wands here really feels like Leo energy. And then we have the Emperor and a Hermit in reverse. So it kind of feels like one of the words I got was wise counsel. Honestly, the Emperor feels like the grandfather or the father of the King of Wands. And sort of the wiseness of a hermit who has already been in isolation for extended periods of time, has the inner wisdom, and is coming out of hermit mode to actually dispense that wisdom. So there might be a powerful person who's coming to help you, or if this isn't that case, I do like to provide alternate readings, but if that's not the case, you're kind of stepping into an emperor place and needing and taking whatever alone time you've had and using the wisdom of that hermit energy in your new role. Interesting. Could be a promotion. I kind of get this like weird promotion energy from a King of Wands to just a full-blown emperor. May or may not be true. But interesting. A very powerful emperor placement right in the middle of the spread. It could also I mean, like, I am reading during the pandemic, so if you found this reading during that time, this could also be like being isolated with your granddad, or being isolated with whatever patriarch, being isolated with your patriarch, and then there could be this conflict between you and whoever feels like they need to be in charge of everything, which, you know, Leo tend to like to be in charge and control, and I bet, you know, being in isolation hasn't really made that any easier. So that could be, that might be related to you. Let's see if anything. What else? We have a High Priestess in reverse. I love this High Priestess. I'm gonna flip her upright just so you can see how beautiful she is. She's gorgeous. But she's in reverse with the Four of Swords. There's definitely a need, especially with this Four of Swords. Just like how gorgeous this is. If you don't have this deck and you're a tarot reader and these cards are like, this isn't the best purchase I've ever made. Anyway, it's one of those beautiful decks I have. But there's this need, like I feel like the Emperor is very much this masculine outer energy, and with the High Priestess in reverse, there's this need to return to feminine energy and receptivity as opposed to projectivity, and a need for rest and actual, and like with having to withdraw from the external into the internal, because right now our feminine is really out of whack. Interesting. Yeah, this may be true for either, if this is a two-person situation, this is true for one of the parties, or both. It's probably both, honestly, especially if this is a very much two masculine energies, kind of butting heads with one another, and the Hermit in reverse being like neither of them have actually done some inner reflection, or needing that sort of hermit wisdom, the inner reflection to know. The Four of Swords is basically saying take a time out. It's kind of a break, because the feminine energy is not being honored, and the feminine energy isn't being like recognized even for the value it brings. I mean, this is interesting. So I noticed in this card, I usually don't notice this, but it came to me that this the high priestess is holding is a keeper of keys. When I think of keeper of keys, immediately Hecate or Hecate or Hecate, I don't know how people like to pronounce this, um, which is from Greek mythology, comes to mind, like a goddess. She's often associated with the triple moon, um, or moon phases. She's most, and even in this card, I don't know if this is meant to be about a Hecate or Hecate. I like saying Hecate. Sounds nicer, but she's associated with like the crone. A keeper of keys is also, she's a keeper of pathways. She's a keeper of the crossroads, so she's there to guide you along paths. So it's very interesting to see her come up, because I think this isn't for everybody, definitely not for everybody, but if you've been feeling particularly drawn, I saw 1111 too, that's interesting. If you've been feeling particularly drawn to waning crescents, that crusty, dusty, like last waning crescent, like, and I just saw 1122. That's she may be trying to step in. There may be a crossroads that you're at that she's trying to get you to recognize, and you need to pause and actually, in order to see that that's what's happening. Because right now, especially if you're in a very externally driven, very masculine energy, you're not going to be able to be receptive to messages from her. So taking time to break, meditating, really giving yourself the space to receive something is going to serve you a lot better. Very interesting. That's not a common message at all. Anything else? But in any case, the feminine energy is not being honored and needs to be given space and energy to actually come through, or to thrive or be honored, like, all that. You know what it is. Interesting. Well, isn't that nice? Actually, this feels really light and lovely. I'm really enjoying this. So first we have a Knight of Wands in reverse. So this feels like really putting down a mantle. Feels like an ending. Because like a Knight of Wands is very much like, I have to put up a fight, I have to defend, I'm wounded, but I'm not, like, the fight's not over. And a Knight of Wands in reverse really feels like being able to step away from the battlefield and get out of the rain. And we have a Two of Wheels in reverse. And the wheels in this deck are the Pentacles. And it's just like, finally, just, it feels like a decision has been made in some regard, and that's going to lead to this really, really beautiful Knight of Wheels, Knight of Pentacles. Just look at that. Like, it's springtime, it's lush, like, it feels really, it feels like the Knight of Wands, like, stepping away from the battlefield, it feels like right then, it feels like a loss. So something really felt like having to choose between two ventures and really balance these two choices that you had, like, but particularly in the way of money or, livelihood. I'm getting kind of like Two of House, like, what you do to make a living kind of energy. Like, actually finding like, okay, I have to devote my energy to this, but I feel like I'm losing and stepping out of the battlefield that I've weathered. It's kind of like a sunk cost fallacy kind of energy where you feel like, I've spent so much time and energy on this, but now I have to put it down. Ugh. And it's a really defeated energy, but like the defeat is actually leading to the defeat, and like surrender is going to really lead to this beautiful bounty for you. So it feels like you've made the right decision in regards to two opportunities or two things that you really wanted to do. Maybe you've set aside something for later. That's awesome. That's awesome. And that might be the result of actually getting into a Four of Swords rest energy and being forced to just lie down. I get this, like, just lie down. Like, just take a minute. That's funny because Aries is getting something similar. It's just like, you're carrying too much, you're trying to do too much at once, and now you have to just chill out and actually listen. Because you're not listening right now. Um, but once you actually go through that loss and that pain, you're like you actually give up on the battle, what you think is the necessary fight and the necessary battle, and you actually make a decision, a tough decision. It's going to lead to something really, really beautiful for you. And this does feel like an honoring of like a feminine energy, though it's much more of a maiden energy. So something new and something vibrant is coming in once you actually let go. And that might be really difficult. But you got to get quiet and centered before you do that, because if you don't have that, you're going to make the wrong choice. And sometimes I feel like there isn't really a right choice, but if you're not in the right space when you make it, it can be very difficult. Um, Even when if you're not in the right space when you make it, that's really, it's going to, either one could be wrong. I don't know if that makes sense. Um, Sometimes the way you make decisions is more important than the decision you make, is what I'm getting. Whew. I'm gonna pull some more cards. I'm on a roll. I'm loving this. Feels good. I'm glad I waited for November because I was not able to do September or October. And there's a reason for that. And yeah, Spirit was just like, no. So very, very happy about that. What else? And if you were in I feel like the decision to get off the battlefield also really, before I forget to say this, the decision to just get off the battlefield really does feel like I'm not fighting, like the King of Wands and the King of Emperor, the King of Wands and the Emperor are just like, we need to get off the battlefield. Or one person, like it takes two to fight, so it's really like, I'm not fighting this anymore. I'm not fighting you anymore. I don't want to be I'm not trying to control things anymore. I need to do me. So that really that's a positive, blossoming kind of situation that you come into when you, excuse me, when you, stop that fighting and stop wasting your energy. That's what I just heard. It's vital. I like pull cards all kinds of which ways. Let's see. A King of Wheels and the Hierophant, both in reverse. Interesting. That's really interesting. It does kind of seem like the other party that there was some sort of argument with is not happy about the situation. There's very much a domineering kind of energy here, and kind of miserly energy as well. I get that with the King of Wheels in reverse, because the King of Wheels or Pentacles, for those, this is a very, like, upright, this is a very positive, generous, giving energy. And this is much more miserly and not willing to give, penny pincher. And the Hierophant in reverse is also like very dogmatic. I'll show you this Hierophant, but I'll show it upright. You'll see how pretty it is. I love this deck. If I haven't said it already like 20 times. This is very much like a dogmatic, kind of, a Hierophant is really kind of a priest energy. It's the counterpoint or the counterpart to the High Priestess, a masculine expression of that. It's kind of the one who keeps the rules, who, passes down the tradition, and keeps the spirit of the tradition alive, where a Hierophant in reverse kind of lost sight of that and now is kind of in a dogmatic, like, well, these are the rules and this is why we do them, and stop asking questions. So yeah, this is a very controlling energy. I don't like it. They're kind of beholden to old institutions. So especially, it seems like this is where the Emperor energy is coming from. The Emperor, in the Emperor versus King of Wands energy, or storyline that I'm reading, it seems like the King of Wands is, because the King of Wands is a very independent, very, very self-made, I guess. It's kind of like not really no need to rely on a certain methodology to go by, really in the moment, really of their own spirit, and doesn't really need any, what's the word, validation from the past or from, you know, institutions. They kind of go, they can go their own way. They don't really care. Um, Whereas an emperor is much more, I would say an emperor energy can be very much like, this is the thing, this is the way we do it. Uh, you know, so, and then the Hierophant with the King of Pentacles in reverse really gives me that that's where the Emperor would be coming from, because this doesn't feel like the way a King of Wands would approach a situation. Wow, interesting. Well, it seems like this King of Wands really figures something out for themselves, stops fighting, um, or, you know, lets go of something. And if it's a really painful letting go, but it leads to something much more benevolent and abundant for themselves, and they're able to actually meet, kind of actually get into the feminine energy that they're meant to inhabit, that they need to inhabit in order to make these choices in a good, to receive the messages from spirit that spirit's been trying to send you. But yeah, wonderful. Okay, well, that feels a little quick almost. I'm like, I kind of I need to read a little bit longer. Um, I think I'll get a clarifier deck really quickly here. So I pulled a Morgan Greer in a 10 deck. I don't know, you probably, if you are familiar with tarot, you're likely familiar with this Morgan Greer deck. But I like to pull my tiny ones for clarification. Now, I'd like clarification on the Hermit, just to see if there's anything I'm missing. There, the Hermit in reverse. Oh, interesting. Can I get clarification on the Hermit in reverse? Interesting. So the Knight of Wands comes up again. Though this is a much more valiant Knight of Wands. I mean, this compared to this, right? Here, I'll show you both. Very, very different energy. This Knight of Wands feels like, you know, a valiant soldier ready to carry on the good fight, who's already been fighting, but, you know, they're not worn and tired. But I do think that that clarifier is meant to connect back to this other Knight of Wands. I think there needs to be some kind of reflection on why we feel the need to keep fighting. Some need to go in about what it is we're fighting about in the first place. Why are we in this? What's keeping us in this conflict to begin with? And are we fighting a good fight? I think that's pretty important to ask. Are we fighting a good fight? Ooh. And in if we're making a decision between two things, like two ways to go about something, as is the case with the Two of Wheels, Two of Pentacles, and this Nine of Wands in reverse, it seems like when you actually go in and you're taking the time to do that, you will find out which fight you are supposed to fight. Or maybe even picking your battles is kind of also a good way to look at this. So instead of fighting about everything, you're like, oh, that's not a battle I want to fight. That's not actually important to me. The battle itself is not necessarily the reason I go, you know, not necessarily worth it in and of itself. Thought I saw my cat, who's dead, which is interesting. So I think this is really, you know, if you're weighing two options, it's having the inner wisdom and that stillness of self to make the proper choice. I'm going to pull one more of these clarifiers. But for what? Usually I don't read through the situation so quickly, so I'm like, well, what am I reading about now? I think the High Priestess kind of would like to be read. I think I'll go with that. Can you clarify the High Priestess? Huh. That's interesting. There we go. The world. I'll show you the world. All the symbols of fixed energy from the zodiac, I think. Right? I guess that's Aquarius. I guess the eagle is Libra. Interesting. Anyway, might be dealing with a Libra. Need to inhabit Libra energy. I don't know. Hold on, I need to pull another. Yeah, I'm still getting that weighing between two options because I just pulled a Two of Wands in reverse. So you're not going to be able to complete and like have a beneficial resolution of whatever it is that you're, juggling until you get that feminine energy in check or you take the time to rest is what I'm getting. And though we do have, two hands holding wands here, which I find very interesting. It's a sharing of information, but it feels like you're not able to actually connect or meet. I don't know, it could be around another person and actually getting some counsel around that if you're not really in a balanced place. But you need to have this feminine energy balance so you can actually make good, cogent choices. And make the choice in the right state of mind. Okay. Just wanted to pull a couple extra cards. It seems like it's just pushing that. I'm just getting kind of the same message in different ways. Just needing to take time and a pause to actually evaluate what's worth it to you. In the end. Choosing your battles wisely. Alright. So I will take out Kim Cran's Wild Unknown Archetypes. This is one of my favorite decks. Interesting. And we'll pull a couple of these for you to help you navigate the situation. But if you've been enjoying, if you're vibing with me as a reader and you'd like to get more of these monthly tarot readings, you can subscribe by clicking the button down below. And if you liked this reading in particular and would like to exchange energy for the reading, a thumbs up is a really great way to do that. And I'd love to hear if this has been helpful for you or how it's been helpful for you, how it's applied to your situation, or, whether or not it did. You leave a comment below if you're feeling so inclined. And if you are vibing with me as a reader and you'd like a personal reading from me, I am available for personal readings. In the description, you'll find a link to my website, friendlymystic.com, where you can find information about how to book a reading with me. But yeah, let's pull your archetype cards. What archetypes would be helpful for Leo in this situation? Oh, there it is. Wow, I got that last time too. And the medallion. Okay, I'm gonna have to read about these ones. Though I can tell you a little bit about Eros. But Eros is kind of like a seed of desire. The purpose of desire in the first place. So really getting in touch with what it is that we are attracted to and why we seek things like this out. Or seek out pleasure and desire in the first place. What is the spiritual nature of desire? What does it do for us? But I'm going to read both of these really quickly from the guidebook. I like to read the oracles, oracle cards. What is this one? Is it tools? The tools. It should be in the tools. Here we go. So I'm going to start with the medallion right here. The passing on of sacred objects is an ancient ritual within families, between lovers, and tribes across the globe. We gift jewels, treasures, keepsakes and mementos of all kinds, some of great material value, others that hold emotional resonance, and still others and still others with both. Yet, when these gifts are bestowed upon us, it is important to recognize that they may bind us to an unspoken agreement or promise. When the medallion card appears, be aware of how the objects you hold dear may be embedded with unconscious energy or expectations. Materials hold consciousness. It's time to reconcile the vibration of the objects around you. What do you covet and collect? Why? Is there any object you have held on to for years that you are ready to release? Perhaps it is time to reach for the medallion that aligns with your deepest values. So this kind of feels like there is some sort of, it's interesting because it kind of brings in um, a new perspective to the reading, kind of maybe even alters things a bit. But if there is some sort of, maybe even a tangible object exchange between a King of Wands and an Emperor type, or a King of Wands and this unbalanced, dogmatic Emperor, that's like an unexpected or an unconscious expectation around like what it is that you like, like what some sort of promise that you're not even really aware you're carrying with this person. And it could be around any kind of physical materiality. It could be around money. It could be, a keepsake or something. That's interesting. And especially if it's about coveting, because that's where Eros comes in, which I will read for you. Where is it? Agape. I love agape. Where is it? I just saw it. There's, how many cards are in this book? Like 78? No, it's more than that. Oh, maybe it's that. I don't know. No, there's 78. But they're all unique, so it's very difficult. It can be very difficult to read. But I will read Eros for you. Actually, technically, this way is upright. It's a very interesting card. They're circles, so honestly, I don't tend to read them reverse or not. Though Eros can be depicted as unbridled sexuality and eroticism, a more contemplative understanding of this archetypal energy leads us to the root of desire itself. What do we long for? Why are we awakened by love? What makes us hesitate in the face of intimacy? Eros reconnects us with the primal longing to merge with another human being. Nature, music, art, plants, food, or anything that we perceive we are separate from. Eros allows us to momentarily unite. Our heart embraces otherness, and in doing so, we further understand our own. Our life force awakens. This card reveals an inevitable initiation into love's labyrinth. You may find yourself swirling in a new territory of desire and sensuality. Explore the labyrinth with a curious and honest heart. And remember, though the way is circuitous, you are always being led toward its center. And by circuitous, it just means in circles, which I may or may not be pronouncing incorrectly. But yeah, again, I think there's this something you want from this person, and it's kind of tied around some unspoken expectation or something. Like this person has something you want, and I'm still getting a two-party situation. Either this person has something you want, or there's something you want that's kind of tied to these unconscious expectations, and really needing to examine it and like why is it that you covet it, and what is it, and what is it about that thing that is valuable to you? And you may come to the conclusion that, especially if you're deciding between two things or two paths to take, you may ultimately decide to stay with what you're doing, but now you've actually evaluated that and can now make that choice consciously. But that's it, Leo. That's the reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was helpful. And yeah, take it easy. That was my hand.